order this regularly scheduled meeting and public hearing. The Village of Ortonville Council is now June 11, 2018. It is now 7:03 p.m. And so we'll call this meeting to order. And at this time, we will rise for the pledge and the invocation. I pledge allegiance to the flag
of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Lord, we gather tonight to once again receive public comment, public input on the direction that they would like us to go in the year ahead, fiscal year beginning July 1st, 2018. Thank you for being with us, Council. Guide and protect us in this meeting, and bless us. Amen. Clerk, please, would you do a roll call, please?
Bryce? Here. Butsu?
Here.
Eshman?
Here.
Robinson?
Here.
Swarnaco? Here. Leva? Here. Wills?
Here. I have an agenda before you. It's a light agenda by design because we do have a second meeting this month. This meeting being primarily to give us a little heads up on a little bit of advance time to deal with budgetary constraints. We do have to have an approved budget by June 30th by law. So therefore, we're meeting now in hopes that we can resolve our future budget projections. Come to one accord with the council. So, that said, I will entertain a motion to approve the agenda. I will move, and I do want to make a minor change, if we could. I would like to move item 7 or 9B under new business, the parade permit, from its current location to item 7, right before the budget public hearing, to get it out of the way. That's the only change I have.
What about the evaluation?
Still there.
Where?
It's still there.
Where?
See,
That's
That's
not
it.
a motion to accept the evaluation. That's just, isn't that just
All
an
that one
update?
is change that one item.
Oh,
Right.
all right.
I'm sorry, was that B? Yeah, that.
Yeah, that was me, you're right.
Yeah, okay.
I make a motion to approve the agenda as amended.
Support.
Okay, we have a motion and support. All those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Agenda is approved. We have minutes from May 21, our last regular meeting.
I'd like to make a motion to approve the minutes of the regular council meeting of May 21st, 2018 as presented.
Support.
Motion by Councilman Eshman, supported by Councilman Bryce. Comments, questions?
I have a question. This was brought up before. I guess maybe we have some clarification. If you're not in attendance at the meeting, you can vote nay, because my understanding was that you could not. So is that how we're doing that? If you're not at the meeting, you vote nay on the meeting minutes?
Typically what I've seen in the past is you vote positive for the meetings, unless there's something that is objectionable, you find objectionable.
Right, you don't do nay votes.
You're not supposed to do a
Right.
nay vote. I mean, you can. Typically, you would give a reason why.
Again, the presumption is that you will have read the minutes, and if you did have questions, that you would be bringing into the manager's or the clerk's attention.
But I do know that in the past where there were a couple council representatives that were not in attendance, where how can you approve minutes if you weren't there, right? So it's hard to justify, yeah, the minutes were taken well, Liz did a great job, but if you're not there, how do you say yes or no, right?
I would think at that point in time, you would abstain, due to lack of versus voting negative on the minutes. Because, if you didn't feel comfortable with the minutes. Typically, if you're not there, you're still allowed to comment on the minutes, but typically that comment is restricted to, like a spelling correction or something like that, it's not, for lack of a better term, substance, it's more of a correctional type thing.
Liz, do you have anything of substance on that topic?
Not with me.
Did you check into it?
Yes,
Confirm?
yeah, and I believe from what I've heard in the past, Bill would be correct, but I can get.
That's what I recollect as well. But since I wasn't at that last meeting, I was just wondering how I should vote on
I
it.
know we've kind of been a little loosey-goosey in that past. I just have a question on the chicken ordinance follow-up, item K on page 4. Bill, have you had an opportunity to confirm that there is unconfirmed information the village has, if the village has an ordinance in place, the state will not intercede at all? Because I didn't get that vibe when I talked to the state. Were you able to ever get to that point?
The only information that I've received, the answer is no. The only information I've received has been from people who have turned in permits saying that they have contacted the state, and the state said since we had an ordinance that they were going to keep their hands off it, is what they were told.
I was not told that.
Yeah.
No.
That was my understanding as well. If we have an ordinance in place, they don't touch it.
Tanya, you have?
No, it's the other way around. Until an ordinance is in place, there is nothing they can do. Once the ordinance is in place, they can step in. And that's exactly what we were told when we were looking to do the permit before the ordinance was in place. Because there is a current ordinance that is being worked on, you had to wait until that point to apply.
Okay. Very good.
But I will call and get firsthand knowledge on that just to verify it, so
Thank
that
you.
they can tell me.
All right, thank you. That's all I had. Anybody else? Okay. So we do have a motion to accept the minutes by Councilman Ashman and supported by Councilman Rice. If there's no other discussion, questions, and all those in favor, please say aye. Aye. Opposed?
Abstain.
Motion carried. Okay, item 6 on our agenda is public comments from on agenda items. This is not the budget necessarily, but this is the place for the public to talk about anything else. Seeing only one public out there that I recognize who's hiding. Stay up there. Okay. Item 7 on our agenda is items from trustees. Anybody want to jump in?
I'll start. Just a couple things noted. I wasn't at the May meeting. due to a conflict scheduling conflict. But the trend reports, I noticed that we had requested that Beth and you had put together. I didn't see any in our main meeting. It's just wondering what the status of the reporting is. And
Talking about the manager's report?
no, the trend reports, the financial trending reports. We received one copy in April, I believe, and then we received it, and we haven't received any feedback or any new reports since then. And then I would also like to make a recommendation, and maybe council can chime in. I think it would be helpful, at least for me, to maybe create a blight report so we can see what's going on with blight, the date, the address, what type of blight it is, first, second, third notice, so we can kind of keep track so that things don't fall through the cracks, and we can keep track of like if the car's been reported and what status the blight is in. And I think that might be helpful to you as well, just to be able to kind of manage that. And then I just want to touch on the personnel committee. We met last week, I don't remember what day in particular, and we met to begin the 90-day review for our new village manager, Bill. And I researched several other local municipalities that had evaluation forms. We're trying to formalize our process here, unify it so that everybody knows what's expected and when and how. So based on that, the personnel committee is making a recommendation. It's on the agenda later for the evaluation. We're asking for your input. Add, delete, change, modify. We'll review it, and then we'll compile your results, and we'll begin the process with Bill. There is one noted, I think Mark brought it up. The purpose, the evaluation is a 90-day or an annual review. So we have annual, we want to put it's 90 days, so it'll be used for both.
Okay.
So that's one comment anyway for that. So we met and we're pursuing that. Once we get everybody's feedback tonight, and if we're able to adopt it, personnel committee will write a formalized process, and we will insert it in our personnel manual to go forward so we can adhere to that policy.
I have a question for you. When exactly is Manager Sprague's 90th date?
I have to look that up on my calendar, Wayne, I don't have that.
Would you by any chance have that?
I think it was like June 5th,
Yep.
Okay.
so, or around there. But obviously, the trustees aren't at fault with this thing going beyond 90 days. My tumble down the deck stairs.
And we have a meeting scheduled to meet with him as well to give his evaluation on June 20th.
So, and then, just to follow up, that'll be talked further at my UC.
Yes, I was just bringing up to give an update that we, the personnel committee met.
Okay, excellent.
And then I also was going through, and I saw, and I actually got a couple emails on it, the sewer presentation, if you will, under the library adult programs. The sewer presentation that's being held Thursday, June 20th, from Jim Nash from Oakland County. I'm not sure who, it might be self-initiated. I don't know if the library initiated, I have no idea. I don't know how that came about, but based on the concerns, I wasn't really prepared to answer those because I was unaware that we were pursuing, or somebody was pursuing that. So.
We're not.
It is
Based
in septic.
It says Brandon Township.
Sewer,
Sure.
septic.
Right.
It's on maintaining your healthy septics.
Okay, and it doesn't say that,
Doesn't
so
say that.
it does not say.
If you read the description,
No,
that's
it's
what
not.
it's all
No,
about.
it does not say that.
Does not
Must
say
be,
that.
there must be two.
Right, then we're talking about two different things, because there's,
Well, there might be
in
another
June,
one.
there's a maintaining healthy septics.
This
That's
says-
what
Do you know
This
what that
says-
was put in there? Who requested
The library programs, the
This
library
says-
decides their programs.
This says sewers and water quality. Jim Nash, Oakland County Water Resources Commissioner, will talk about sewers and water quality issues in Brandon Township. At the end of the program, he will answer questions from the audience. Doesn't say the intention was for some, so maybe that's a different date. I didn't
Well,
see
if
that.
you, yeah, I guess by going online and looking at the program information, it talks about maintaining healthy septics.
Okay, well, this is what, was put out.
This is
So-
what the residents are getting.
And when I got the email, I was, quite surprised. And if it truly is for that, then that was an important fact that's missing. But I guess I would just like to put out there, for the residents, because it is a very sore spot with the residents because of their vote. I want them to understand that we heard the vote. There's a process, the democratic process. It was defeated. And based on that, I would like to make a motion, if I may. I would like to make a motion that the Village of Ortonville has ceased all sewer-related expenditures and will not be pursuing or approving anything related to the implementation of a sewer system including the master plan.
Could you reread it one more time? The long
Well,
pause.
because I modified. I'd like to make a motion that the Village of Ortonville cease all sewer-related expenditures and will not be pursuing or approving anything related to the implementation of a sewer system, including the master plan. Sure.
I would support that.
We have a motion by Councilman Skornica and supported by Councilman Butsu. The motion is read. Any further discussion? This was discussed at our last budget meeting, so it's not new news to the council as far as making public the direction that,
This I found since then, but yeah.
well,
Yeah.
but her motion,
And then,
her motion is, I think,
I just would
an
like-
appropriate motion under the,
I just would like to
Circumstances.
assure the residents that we're
I
not.
understand
Yeah.
that you made your statement, you made your motion, but that was part of our discussion at the last budget meeting was that, you know, every time our residents think that the issue is somewhat calmed down and something comes up, so I think we as a council want to assure them that for the immediate future, it's just not affordable, number one, and I don't see it ever being affordable, quite frankly. So, any other comments, questions about the motion?
You know, it was brought up at the budget meeting that we would make some type of public statement, but since then I hadn't heard anything about it, so it's kind of taking me by surprise
What's that?
that we're having a, you know, that we're gonna vote on the resolution tonight, so. That's all I have to say about it,
Okay.
which means I haven't thought about it at all, since it's taken me by surprise.
Anybody else?
Can you read it again, Colleen?
A motion to, that the village council, the Village of Ortonville has ceased all sewer-related expenditures and will not be pursuing or approving anything related to the implementation of a sewer system, including the master plan.
So what happens if it becomes state mandated?
Well, then that's
different.
Is it? I mean, by the wording, is that different?
Well-
Because I don't
It would have
see
to
that
be.
because we would have to
It'd be
expend
mandated.
money in order to participate in that, so I'm
And
just
we would have,
hesitating.
the public would be aware, then we would,
The direction
Follow.
would change at that point.
yeah, just like anything else, when we have state mandates of some sort, we would have to abide by them.
You know,
But
state
that's what I'm
law.
saying, so we're saying we're not going to do something and we may have to do something, so
It's
we
just
would
like the chicken
contradict what we
ordinance.
said we're going to
If
do.
we get overridden by the state, then we don't have any control.
Right.
Same.
Right.
So, okay, any further discussion? Roll call, please.
Rice? No. Butsu?
Yes.
Eshman?
Yes.
Robinson?
Yes.
Skornica?
Yes.
Sleva?
Yes.
Wills?
Yes. I'll just make one further comment that, you know, this is this board's decision and based upon input from the community. As board members change and the years go by, motions can be reversed, directions can be changed, so it's not an end all to the topic. But for the immediate future, and probably for my lifetime, I don't see it being financially affordable. Okay, so the motion's passed. So any other items from trustees?
That took care of it for me.
Okay. Mark, anything?
No, thank you.
I would just like to give kudos again to Bob for saving the village money when we got the new tractor. He was able to, once again and again and again and again, save us money. I just really think he goes unnoticed and unrealized, and I want to make sure that you mention it again. He's wonderful.
Did you also know that there's another $3,000 taken out because he was able to fit the?
That's what I was talking about.
The broom.
Yeah,
The broom.
by being, yeah, once we got it, he was able to retrofit and save us money. I just,
So
as
rather than having
usual.
rather than forcing us to buy a new broom, we were able to
Look,
buy
did we already have it?
the existing one.
We had the
Yeah.
room and had to return it. I mean, right?
Yeah, they delivered it,
So
they
he knew
delivered
right
it,
away
but the
to.
plan was all along when they got here with the new tractor to try our broom out. So Bob followed up on that and did a great job.
And we appreciate that.
Excellent.
How long has it been since we've been able to utilize the room because of our previous tractor situation? Where we
This year we couldn't, so we'll be able to now go down the sidewalks and get some stuff out, clean it out, plus that helps to do some maintenance, whatever too.
Excellent. Anything from you?
My item will be covered under new business 9C, so we
Okay.
can discuss it then.
Karen, anything from the old mill?
Well, actually, I had bronchitis, so I was not able to make the meeting.
Okay. And Mark? You cover later?
It'll be covered under new business and number 8,
Okay.
safer grants.
The only thing I have is that, as a reminder to the public, a week from this Thursday, there will be under the Big Top Circus in the Ortonville area. It will be on Varsity Drive, which is down the street from the A&W. There will be 2 performances on Thursday, the 21st of June. And I believe one is at 5 and 5:30 and 7. Okay, and we have a couple of local celebrities as the ringmasters. And also we have what we call a food eats in the streets or food truck rally. Which one is it? Eats in the
It's
streets?
the same thing. Eats in the Streets is the name of the event.
Okay, so we're gonna have some food trucks in town, hopefully to augment the eateries we have in town. And if you wanna have your children attend to watch the raising of the big tent, the Big Top, that takes place at I think 1 o'clock on Thursday.
I thought it was 9.
That early? 9 a.m., I'm sorry.
9 a.m.
Yeah, 9 a.m. on the tent raising. So it's quite an event, just to watch the tent being raised, so trying to attend to that.
Do you know when the animals are, or when the caravan is scheduled to come in?
Oh, it's good. The caravan will come in on Wednesday,
'Cause I know that.
the day before at noon.
Because I know before they were saying about getting the
Noon,
animals off.
Wednesday around noon, they're scheduled to arrive.
Are there some tickets still available?
There are.
And where can you get your tickets?
They can get them in advance.
Hamilton?
Hamilton's, I believe.
The Citizen.
The Citizen. The adults in advance are $10. The adults on the day of the event is $13. The children and seniors rates in advance are $7. And the day of the event for children and seniors is $8. I don't know what their definition of senior is, or either senior or child, where they start.
55 or
I
69?
think it's
12 and under.
Yeah, it says-
12 and under? Okay.
And you may want to remind them to get their tickets early because you sold out.
Yeah, we did. The Lions Club sponsored this. I say we, I'm a longtime Lions member, but this was done, we can only get them in here once every other year. So this is the year. And we did this 2 years ago, and it was a complete sellout and a very well worth event, well worth attendance. So.
And the tickets are not for either show, so you get your tickets and then you don't know which show, and so you need to get there early to get your seat because.
General admission.
Yeah, general
But
admission
you buy the ticket and it's not which show.
Yeah.
You just buy a ticket, so you can go to either show.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay. So that's all I have, so we'll move right along.
Can I just
Yes.
ask one more thing? I was trying to find it online and I must have just missed it, but what are the date of our fireworks?
July 7th.
July 7th.
All right, thank you.
And it's typically going to start a little dark.
General admission?
No.
No, tickets, I'm just kidding.
Liz, will you remind us the Facebook site where you can find all that information?
It's out on there, so I'm sure she
Yeah,
can post
it's
it.
for hours.
The Brandon Ortonville.
Well, there's the Brandon Ortonville Community.
That's what I'm talking
That's
about.
what the page, because that's where I looked.
Where you can find all the.
Yep.
You can also look at
It wasn't on there, so.
downtown Ortonville and Ortonville DDA both have the information as well.
And this is being sponsored in large part by the Friends of Amos, which is the 501c3 tax exempt arm of the DDA. So, okay? Good question, thank you. All right, moving on. 2018-2019 budget public hearing, item.
Afraid from that.
I'm sorry?
He moved afraid from that.
Oh, I'm sorry. Forgot my motion. Okay, so we have a parade permit.
Good evening, Director of the Ortonville DDA. And what you have in your packets is a permit for a food truck rally in downtown Ortonville. Going through this process, we weren't sure if this required some sort of permitting for the activity or event we were doing, but better be safe than sorry. We aren't closing down any streets similar to other events where they've had food trucks in the past. So that is before you. The objective of the event certainly is to bring people into downtown Ortonville, and that goal is to generate commerce downtown, number one, and to create a sense of place. With it being in conjunction with the circus, we felt this is a great opportunity. While the circus is further south in the village, this was an opportunity to encourage people to come into downtown, to frequent both South Street and Middle Street. We've engaged before I turn it over to the event chair, I'll just summarize. We engaged our local businesses to participate in the evening. They will be open later hours. The food trucks will be here from 4 p.m. to 8 p.m. And so some of the businesses have stayed open later and are actually hosting additional special activities in their location. So I'll turn it over to Colleen to address, Courtney, to address any additional questions that you may have, and of course I'll answer them as well.
Courtney McLaren, DDA Board of Directors, event chair for the East in the Streets event. We have 7 food trucks coming in. We have 3 musicians. We have a face painter and a puppy kissing booth all coming in, being hosted by local businesses. As you know, we're all about shop small, shop local, shop Ortonville, and powered locally. Those are kind of our mantras. And so we're really hoping just to pair up with the Lions Club and give people a reason to come on downtown and enjoy a nice evening out. So we also have, for the Love the Local is having their 3rd anniversary, so we wanted to try to capitalize on that as well to give people an even bigger reason to come on down and visit the shops.
Will the parklets be set up?
The parklets will be set up, the trucks will be parked in parallel parking spaces and serving onto the sidewalk. The 3 musicians will just be spaced out around town. We haven't finalized any locations specifically yet.
What about excess parking?
I have been in contact with Will's Chiropractic. They will be open So we have been working with them about how we can make sure that they have enough spots for their patients, as well as if anybody decides to park there. We expect that after 5 o'clock, when the post office is gonna be closed, things like that, there will be some additional parking there. The parking in the flat lot over here, parking here. We're hoping that, people really utilize the parking spaces that are available here, if not, parallel parking on the.
So we still have the school property, the deal is, the sale of the Fletcher Intermediate is not closed to my knowledge. And we have that parking available, and also the Bert, Harvey Swanson parking.
We have briefly discussed possibly getting a couple of, parking signs so that people are kind of directed in where they can park and things like that. So that's certainly something we're willing to look into.
Will there be any shuttle service like September Fest when there's shuttles? Okay.
Not likely.
Well, if you're coming to and from the circus,
Right.
you're going to walk back and forth between the two, you park right at the circus.
That was our goal too, is to make it kind of a, a draw back and forth. They feed off us, we feed off them kind of thing. So beneficial on both avenues. Did I say we have a face painter coming?
Yes.
Okay.
Get your dog kissed before you get your face painted.
Yeah.
Right, who's kissing who? The puppy kissing booth, I know.
It'll be puppies from a local rescue, so it's going to be a really good time.
I see on the permit, I believe Chief Quappus added this. An on-site inspection at each food truck is required by the fire department prior to opening to the customers. So that'll be done like the day before the morning.
That'll
or
be
something.
Day of.
The trucks are planning to come in. I apologize, I meant to say this already. The trucks are planning to allow them to set up around 2:30. Give them time to set up, get their inspections with the chief, and be ready for customers by 4. Our event says till 8, so we do expect them to be serving until 8 at least. And, we've got to take into consideration there's going to be some breakdown time and things like that too, so.
So, Courtney, I'm presuming, but I want to confirm, does it mean that the Oakland County Health Department does not need to show up for the day of the event like they do in the other events?
That's not what's on the permit. The permit is specifically to fire suppression systems, making sure that their truck has been tagged.
So the county probably will still be involved.
Because it doesn't mean it's going to meet health codes, it's just going to be fire codes that they've got
If-
extinguisher available and whatnot.
If these trucks do not have their annual health certificate, then yes.
So I think that annually
checking those?
We will be requesting those ahead of time.
From the county.
I already have a
The county
couple,
does.
yeah.
The county.
Okay.
I already have confirmation of 1 or 2 of the trucks already that they have theirs and are ready to provide it.
So Oakland County will be here to check the permits?
I don't know that answer currently. They will know who is coming and whether or not they have an annual health permit already. The trucks have a health permit already. And if they don't, then just like Witches Night Out and September Fest, the county most likely would be out here.
Yeah, food trucks are a little different, obviously, from the VFW puts up a tent. They're stationary, one-time events. So.
And they typically have theirs mounted in their trucks as well. They have them.
Yeah.
It's like a restaurant,
Their
it's a traveling
service
restaurant,
station
it's
on
an annual
hand.
permit.
Yeah.
Okay.
So we don't know whether Oakland County is coming in to check the permits or not? Or someone from the DDA will check those?
No, that would be a
So
county
nobody's checking?
expectation. That would be a county expectation. Just like when, just to give you an example, the last time I was confronted with this, the health department contacted us based on who was coming here for Witches Night Out, to let us know that they would be in town checking the food vendors, and if it would be good if we let the food vendors know that they would be here checking for their permits.
Just like when the county was here for the Beats and Eats, but they weren't here every Friday. They meander through, they kind of pop in, and meander through and make sure they were all checked. So the food trucks, I'm assuming, you have to assume that the county is going to be around, but if they don't, the county has their ways of checking or whatever. But if they don't catch it at this event, they're gonna catch them with the next event they go to.
And they will be, the county will be aware.
Okay. Any other questions?
Thank you for moving us up in the
You're welcome.
agenda. I need to get home to my kids.
Entertain a motion.
I make a motion to approve the parade permit. I know you already had this. To approve the DDA special event permit request as presented.
Support.
Motion to approve the event for us, parade event for the parade request, the Ortonville food truck rally conjunction. Okay. And so a motion by Colleen and supported by, that was you, Tom?
Mark.
Or Mark, I'm sorry.
No, it was Mark, I'm sorry. It wasn't Mark. I did.
Further discussion? Hearing none. All those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion's carried. Item 8, 2018-19 budget public hearing.
So, I got a question. Do we need a motion to go into public hearing for this, or not?
No, Wayne can just enter in the public hearing.
Oh, it's not in the public hearing.
So at this point in time, we will begin a public hearing to receive input on behalf of our 2018-2019 budget. And so if you have any comments, questions, please step to the microphone and identify yourself and state your name and address. Hearing and seeing no response, then we will close the public hearing at this point in time. It is now 7:40 p.m. Move on then to a suggested motion after having received all the public input.
To approve the 2018-2019 budget for fiscal year ending 6/30/2019 as presented, with revenues and expenditures of $983,291 and a millage levy of 8 mills per 1,000 of taxable valuation.
I will support that. I'll have some discussion.
So I'd like to turn to page number 11 of the budget. And then also, I'm also comparing it to our first workshop, page number 15. So basically, it had the summaries of the total estimated revenues of all funds. Back when we did our workshop, that number was $703,539. And then we had the total appropriations at that time at $848,200. So now, okay, and maybe, Bill, you can help explain or clarify. So we left that budget meeting looking at an $848,200 number for appropriations, and tonight, for this meeting, we're seeing a $983,291. So that's a difference of roughly $135,000, right?
Yep, that is the difference being remember when we talked in the budget workshop about we would have to put when we figured out what all the spending and all the revenue was, we would have to put the filler number in of the transfer from general fund. So
Yes.
the transfer from general fund of $133 is the filler number that makes up that difference now. That's why the number is different.
Okay, so,
TBDs
That's
have been inserted.
It's 133,811.
Yeah. Yeah.
Is it correct? I didn't bring my.
so were there two?
I didn't want to steal you one.
There were two sections, right? Weren't there two? So one was in the Department 966 fund transfers, right, to be determined? And then
Yep.
the other one was in the fund transfers, I guess they're both
Yeah.
right?
Yep.
All right, so how were those determined then? So you said at that time it had to be determined, so how was it determined that we're spending?
Well, what you had to do at the point in time, once we went through and verified all our expenditures that we had to do, then you could go and look at all your revenues and say, okay, we gotta make this balance. So you can't spend, you can spend more than you take in, but you gotta balance it from somewhere. So you gotta take that money out of the checkbook, for lack of a better term, or our savings account, to pay for the balance of what we're doing. So until we had come to the, for lack of a better term, understanding of what was gonna be in the budget, you couldn't plug in that number.
All right, so that was for the appropriations, correct?
Correct.
And then, so the revenue side of it, we reviewed at that time as being 703,539, but now the revenue is up to 983. So where did we get the revenue for that then?
The
So we got
additional,
appropriations.
the additional revenue, if you recall, the last time that we went through, we didn't have that forecasted column, so I had to go back in and say, okay, have Beth figure out exactly how much more revenue are we gonna take in between now and the end of the year, and there would also be some funds related to, trying to explain this the right way, the additional revenue funds or the additional transfer funds from revenue that we have to make up the difference, do you follow? I know that's kind of a weird way to say it, but. But it's the increase, and what particular line were you looking at again, I'm sorry?
Well, I was looking at the revenue side of it, so basically, you explained how we got the appropriation side.
Well, the revenue side would be the same way, because if you go to the revenue column and look at the bottom of the first page where you plug in that 133.
Yep.
That's what drove you to the 598,871. Is that your question, how the revenue went up?
Well, that's in part, but that's not the total, is it? Is that it? Because I thought it was 135, right? The difference between.
598, then you go to the street funds.
Yeah, there's that number compared to that. So it's 135. Okay, so we're within the total.
Yeah.
So again, to just clarify that a little better, Bill, that 133,811 is being transferred from only one particular general account, or are you transferring that from more than the streets accounts, or is that just the whole?
No, that's general fund.
General fund, okay.
So then I have another question on page 3 for account number 101-210-830.020. At our budget meeting, that was 0, and now it's $1,500. So what drove that change?
Repeat it again, I'm sorry.
Capital improvements, right at the
Which
top.
line you talking
On
about?
page
Oh.
3.
Right.
So, yeah, we made a decision in our budget workshop.
Yeah, that we were
to
gonna-
put that 0, make that
Yep.
0,
Yep.
but it's
So
not.
miss that one. So we'll have to adjust the budget for 1,500 and change that to 0. Good catch.
All right.
Yeah, that's the one that,
Cross it off.
yeah, we crossed it off, because that's the one we said, CIP, we've already paid for the plan with Lowe. And so by the time that we implement a CIP, you won't implement another one during this fiscal cycle, so.
That was the discussion.
Yeah. So no, we missed that, so we'll amend the budget to take out that 1,500, which will, in addition, have an effect on
The actual transfer.
the actual transfer, so that'll reduce that by 1,500, so that'd be the.
It's actually gonna be 133,811 minus 50.
Yep.
And then I have one other question, then on page number 9, we did decide in our budget to move forward with sidewalks. This is Department 442, and at that time it was $60,000, and tonight it's $50,000, so we're minus $10,000.
Well, he followed up on your suggestion, we went back and got that from Earl.
Trustee Sleva had pointed out that she had.
That's right.
I had some information from
Your
last
question,
year.
Karen, did answer that.
Okay.
So, and then what I did is, after Karen shot me that, I shot it to Roe. Roe came back, said the numbers were still good, so then I shot out an email, everybody saying we're gonna adjust it to 50,000
Right.
from 60.
And these numbers reflect that.
These numbers reflect that.
Yeah, I checked that.
Good catch.
Yeah.
Thank you, Karen. Thank you, Karen.
But that's.
I don't throw anything away.
Good question.
Discuss it, I've got to find it. So there should be enough in there to improve our sidewalks and look at Oakwood, right?
That's enough to cover Darren, Ball, and Myron. We have other project money that we left in to take a look at. It doesn't specifically say Oakwood, but there's enough in here for projects that we can look at. But we would have to, amend the budget if we were gonna do it in this budget cycle, because the estimate we had for Oakwood sidewalks, I was able to find that. There was a 2017, there was 2 sister projects, it looks like, going. One to widen the road and one to put a sidewalk in.
Where John was going back and forth with the road commission.
Right, and the sidewalk, we got a denial on widening the road from Oakland County. The sidewalk one, there was an estimate of, I think it was a little bit over $100,000 for the sidewalk. So we would have to, if we're gonna do that this budget cycle, we would have to amend the budget to include that if we wanna put it like in the CIP for next budget cycle. One of the questions that's come up, and it's kind of an odd question, the state is encouraging people they're tweaking the Act 51 money, asking people to dedicate more of a percentage of it to walk, not just roads, but to walk paths and sidewalks. The question I gotta ask on that particular one is, there's no doubt that sidewalk would be on a major street. However, it's not on our major street, it's on the county's major street. So would we be able to use Act 51 money to do the sidewalk, even though it's on a major street and not ours? You follow?
Right.
So,
But it's still within the village limits,
yes,
so it's important to say that.
It just
I mean,
complicates it a little bit because we have to do with the county to.
it just, yeah, because by next budget cycle, we'll have, by the end of this year, we'll have about $200,000 and a little bit over $200,000 in major streets for the next year to do a big project, and hopefully stretch that with a grant or something. But you could also figure in the following year, which, what's our Act 51 money for large streets every year roughly? We got it right here.
You're talking about major streets?
Major streets, what, I'm getting there.
Well, this year we're.
About $100,000, $97,000. So we would be at close to if you look at the revenue for not this budget cycle, but for the next budget cycle, we have about $300,000 in major street money to spend for 2019, 2020. So, you know, you can pretty much hit it.
So Bill, based upon what you found in the file, previous quotations, how far would our current budgetary funds that would be available get us down the road? Would it get us to from point A to point B, or how far do we know?
That $100,000 estimate, and again, I'm reading this from prior emails,
Yeah, I understand.
so I don't want to engage.
I don't want to hold you to it, but this is
But
kind of rough idea.
it was supposedly from Cedar Street to Beaky.
Okay.
That's what the sidewalk project and the road widening project both was supposed to be, so.
So whatever it's going to take to get us over Kearsley Creek, because there's not a whole lot of shoulder width there.
Right. That's my concern, is I don't want to live by that, I don't want to live by that quote, because I got some serious questions on
Okay.
getting over Kearsley Creek.
Does anybody else recall when John was looking into that information, we were not able to get it this year, but it was possibly 2 years out. The county was going to go in, and because the county was going in, it was a totally different grant that we could possibly get access to because the county would partner with that. And then the talk was because Beekys is Groveland Township, that came into play.
Mhm.
So I don't know if you found that information in there way back, we have it somewhere.
They,
But it was
They were-
everybody participating,
Yeah.
and it was access to a different grant according to the information that.
there was and that's why I want
Yeah.
to dig deeper, because there was a rejection letter from Oakland County that said basically that because there was not an existing sidewalk there, and the grant was to widen the road and put a pedestrian trail versus a sidewalk. And so they said because of the absence of a sidewalk, that putting that widened shoulder, people would use it in lieu of the sidewalk, and that was not the intent of what the grant was supposed to be for, which I don't understand that at a 35-mile-an-hour speed limit, you know, you would think that you could put a bike trail or a walk path.
Or call it a path,
Right.
right, instead of a
Yeah.
sidewalk.
And it jumps right up to
Well,
45.
it's 45 there.
Right in
Yeah.
church.
But, you know, that's
When-
gonna,
when other communities, when the street's narrow, for whatever reason, you see, they stripe it out, and they line it off for bikes, or for pedestrians.
Mhm.
And it's done quite frequently, from my visual observation.
And that is an acceptable Act 51 expenditure to widen over, not to go from 2 lanes to 4 lanes, but to widen them for pedestrian access, or not pedestrian access, but what walkability type stuff, you know, that they're promoting. So that's why on Cedar Street, we put the bike lane on Cedar Street for 1 over in the park.
So something for further consideration, and I know we've been talking about it at length for 4 years now, and trustee Skornica and I came up and we talked about why not listing this project in phase 1, phase 2, phase 3, so that it's doable in chunks, so that we see this astronomical number and then everybody backs away, but you put in a small phase, the public sees we're there, we're gonna put that in there. But every year we come up and say, oh, that number's too astronomical, it's not, but you see phase 1 done, next year you see phase 2 done, and guess what? In 4 years, it's done.
Or
So-
you may even, and we've even talked if the bridge is too far, I mean, if the bridge over River Kwai or something, you know, then maybe what you do is do something as simple as you have the sidewalk, chiming in on your terms, I think, is go from, like, say, Narren Park down to Beekys, and then you still have the sidewalk that goes back to Cedar Street, you skip the creek, the expense of the bridge. And then we talked about that from Narren going to Beekys back through the back way too. And I think that's a once we get the sidewalks, Narren, Ball, and Cedar, that would be probably a great project. I would think that, I can't speak for the shopping center, but gosh, I would think that they would want to
And that'll take some of the traffic off both,
Yeah.
ways. Not all of it, obviously,
Right.
but that will take some of it off, the flow.
But so you're talking about, and I agree, it provides access, but it provides hidden access. So if you're a resident, or if you're a merchant or whatever, no one's gonna see that except for the people that actually walk it. But if you have that alongside Oakwood, and it's a nice blacktop, and I'll use Sashabon, I've used it before, Sashabon's got a nice blacktop walkway right alongside the park. Yeah, to me, that's what our residents need. I mean, I agree. It gives you a hidden access, but it wouldn't be known unless, and then you gotta go through some industrial area to get there. So it wouldn't be the most pleasant walk either.
No.
So,
But the phase-in thought is a good one, and we're already currently doing that with Cedar Street. We've done, phase 1 and phase 2, so
Mhm.
it's a excellent idea when you have to bridge, hopefully, or potentially, 2 fiscal years because of the cost of the item. Okay.
On that note, I have people approaching me while I'm out walking, they're frustrated because they're considered part of the village, and yet they don't have that accessibility. It's dangerous for them to come through. So, how do they keep, some of these people have been here for many years, and they're very frustrated, because nothing's happening.
They want to be able to get to the keys. I do have a question. So if we're increasing our bottom line, what percentage is that to still be a healthy fund balance?
For a village our size, the state would recommend that your fund balance, they compare your fund balance, typically the formula you use is they take major and local streets out and they look at what is your general operating expense as opposed to your general fund balance. So if you look at what it'll be at the end of this year, we'll be at about 87%. This budget will take us down to about 54%. The state recommends for a village our size to be at about 25%. So from a financial health standpoint, we're about double what the state recommends. Doesn't mean you can't be there, because, but you should be planning, we should be planning projects and stuff to,
So should we put more money in for some, streets and sidewalks? Maybe we can up those a little bit, right? We've got, if we're more than double what the state recommends, still being a healthy balance, but maybe we can afford to put some more money into the streets and sidewalks, kind of get us moving along.
However, keeping the fund balance even healthier, we phased it out. It's just so easy, it's easier to swallow that way, I think.
Oh,
It's a great
sure,
idea.
the phase, but I'm just, we have to, I guess, get our phases and how much it's gonna cost to get phase 1 accomplished and phase 2. So based on phase 1, do we have enough in there? Should we increase a little bit because we do still have a healthy fund balance? And then going forward to the year, next year and the following year.
yeah, good. Or at some point in time in the year, if we find that, things, because things like, for an
Change
example,
it as we go.
yeah, you could do a budget adjustment, we can do a budget adjustment, the Narren Park, or excuse me, not Narren Park, excuse me. Sherman Park DNR grant, they came out to visit that this week, or last week, excuse me. That's not a locked-in winner all of a sudden, and there's roughly $9,200 in the budget right now for that expense. The revenue for the grant's not in there because that's a wash, and we'll do a budget adjustment to put that in if we get it. But that's an example of something we could use a budget adjustment and adjust it out and put in an Oakwood phase project or something.
Other questions? Karen, any questions?
No.
Mark?
No, I'm good.
We already have a motion on the floor. The budget will be amended by $1,500. So, this is also going to change our tax rate sheet. Let's see. It's not going to change the tax rate, but it's going to
it'll just reduce the expense, both,
Expense side.
it'll reduce both of them by $1,500 on the resolution.
Should I have Karen make a motion
That's a
then?
simple motion, read.
Should be as amended.
What is the number?
And the new number
The
would
15.
be
982,791.
Second. Thank you.
I have 981.
You're 981? Yep, you're right. My bad.
91 what?
Thank you.
what is it?
981, 791.
Thank you.
So you want me to read it with the new figure in there then?
790. If you would, well, you could just amend it by that amount.
Okay, well, to approve the 2018-2019 budget for fiscal year ending 6/30/2019 as presented, with revenues and expenditures of $981,781. 91 and a millage levy of 8 mills per 1,000 of taxable valuations.
That's what it is.
Yes. And I'll support that. Any other comments, questions? Otherwise, we'll call for a roll call vote, please.
Watson,
Yes.
Ashman,
Yes.
Robinson,
Yes.
Skorica,
Yes.
Sliva,
Yes?
Wills,
Yes.
Rice, yes?
Yes. 2018-19 annual budget is approved. Karen, you and I will get together, Liz, you and I will get together and collate the legal documentation on that. Do we have to do that right away tomorrow, or?
I don't know when it's due by, so that would be a question. for-
Typically, if we get it out this week, we're fine.
Okay, good.
So we can type it up and tell us when you're available.
So I'll wait to hear. Item 9A, under new business. We have a motion for approval of the safer resolution through the Brandon Fire Department. Your name is?
Dave Wallace, I'm the fire chief.
Welcome. Good to have you with us, Chief.
Thank you. Thanks for having me. So, to start out with, the last time we increased overall staffing levels full-time was in 2002. We were running just a little over 800 calls. We're up to 1,323, and as I have indicated numerous times, we need more staffing. So, with that being said, we are a combination department. You guys have seen that. You understand that we have some full-time staff and we have part-time staff. We supplement our full-time staff with our part-time staff. They do an awesome job for us. We would not be able to do what we do today without our part-time staff. Problem is, part-time staff are getting worn out. We're not getting in as many as we used to. We're not getting the young kids in. Occasionally we do. And we've got some right now that are excellent. So we don't want to lose them in the sense, but at the same time, we still have a station that is an unmanned station to our northeast corner of our township. So what does that mean? Well, that means the residents out in that area aren't getting the same kind of quick response that those that live in the village may be getting, just as for example. So with that being said, the federal government offers a lot of different grants, and we've been awarded an AFG grant. We bought Scott packs with those, the breathing tanks.
What year was that, Chief?
That was 3 years ago, 4 years ago, right in there.
The amount of that grant, do you recall?
What's that?
The amount of that grant?
That amount of that grant was just over $140,000. 155,000, something like that. I don't have the
That was
numbers.
just for 1 year?
That was all within 1 year, yeah, one grant cycle. So, and that was some money that came back from all of us paying taxes to the federal government, right? So we were able to see some of that come back to us. Right now we have, and last year, we received a just under $25,000 grant for some RIT packs. That's a rescue intervention team packs that we need in case we have a firefighter down. So we received some of that money from it and the AFG grant as well. So then the next one comes up that we submitted for turnout gear, because we need to replace our turnout gear. We're at just over 10 years old. The cost to us of that turnout gear is about $150,000. So what we did is we combined with a bunch of different agencies, said, hey, let's get turnout gear together. So we submitted a grant, and so far we're still in the running. So we're keeping our fingers crossed and hope we get that grant. If that grant passes, it's about a $350,000 grant total when we're there. So that gets me, all this long story gets me to the next part of the grant, or next type of grant, and it's called a SAFER grant. It's a staffing of adequate fire and emergency response. So the SAFER grant pays for personnel. All the other grants pay for equipment. This pays for personnel. Some of the departments that have used the SAFER grant in and around our area, Flint, Pontiac, Groveland, let's see, White Lake, Springfield, so there's a bunch of them, right? So, looking at budget numbers, looking that we need an extra person per shift, so that'd be 3 full-time additional personnel. How can I do it now when I know that, right now I can't afford every single one of them, right? But I know 3 years out, 4 years out, 5 years out, 6 years out, we're looking good without having to increase the operating millage rate. So to me, it's like, okay, that's a good time, this is a good time to consider this grant. So, with that being said, the grant, the first 2 years is a 75-25% match. That means the feds will cover 75% of it, we cover 25% of it. Third year is a 65-35. Actually, it's 35-65. We bear 65% of it, the feds will bear 35% of it. So it would be a 3-year grant from the time that, if we get awarded, that's when it would be, that's the time period. The clock starts from the date that they say, we'd like to award you this grant. Now, when and if, fingers crossed, that we get the grant, all of this has to come back to both boards. And I have to, obviously at that point, I'm going to give you more details, a lot more graphs, charts, actual numbers. Right now, these are estimated numbers, and that's what we submitted to the federal grant as well, is they wanted estimated numbers. So, what I'm asking for tonight is the grant committee put together a thing saying, hey, listen, you can go ahead and submit for your grant, but what we would like to see is your municipality, your governing boards support you and that you are submitting for this grant. And you can submit the letter at any time, obviously the sooner the better, but it doesn't mean that we're tied to the grant. All it means is that, yeah, you support the idea of us submitting for the grant. And it says that in the resolution. One of the lines very clearly states that everything's got to come back through the process to both, it'll go to the fire authority first, obviously, and then to both the village and the township. So, if there's any questions I can answer, I know I put in a sheet that shows that over that 3-year period, the fire department cost is just over just under $300,000 over a 3-year period. And the feds will be kicking in just under $480,000. Again, these are rough estimates because we had to average out wages and all the other fun stuff that goes with that. That covers uniforms, workers' comp, their health insurance, their dental, all that kind of stuff. So all that's included in there. So the other reason that we thought that now would be a good time is previously this grant, you could not hire your own people, which is really frustrating because we have a lot of talented people that have spent a lot of time, a lot of training, a lot of dedication, and now someone can't hire them because, well, it's federal money, so you gotta hire outside. They were specifically, it was listed that any current employee could not be hired. So at that point, previously, because we've thought about this, we've been talking about this for some time internally. I'm like, I'm not gonna do it. I'm not gonna do it to my pay call staff. They work too hard, and I was not gonna slap them that way personally. That's just how I felt. So they changed it. The fire chiefs got together throughout the United States and said, hey, listen, you know, we've got a lot of really good personnel. This is just, anyways, hammered it home. They said, we're gonna change it. You can promote from within, you can do your own personnel. The only thing is you can't supplant funds. So what that means is I can't have, lay somebody off to hire them back under the grant. That don't work. So I have to, if the grant comes through, there'll be a bunch of different rules that we're gonna have to sit down and make sure everybody's aware of. But one of them is that I cannot reduce my full-time staff during that 3-year process. So, provided the economy goes the way it is currently, we're good. We've showed to the fire authority that we'll be able to continue past the 3-year cycle with no problem, and for quite some time, quite frankly. So, if there's any questions, I'll shut up.
I have a question. Chief Clovis, could you confirm for council that you did not have to change your budget to apply for this grant or to meet the grant requirements?
I did not have to, no.
All right, so you,
No, we
No
just
budget.
submitted what we had.
perfect. So thank you.
Chief, I have a question. Where are we at in relation to the township, my township boards? I use that term because they are my township board. Where are they at in this process?
They approved it the night of June 4th.
Thank you.
Yep. Unanimously.
I have a question. So for 3 years, you cannot lay off any of those members that you
That's right.
hire? Okay, so what if you hire these and somebody quits? And
I
somebody
gotta replace them.
So, okay, so you have to replace.
I
You
would
still
have
gotta
to replace.
maintain the 3.
I've gotta
however-
maintain, yeah.
It can't be at your discretion, it's gotta be at theirs, and you just
Correct.
replace them.
Yep, good question.
Backing on that, what happens if somebody you currently have retires?
Again, I have to replace.
You would change that and you would keep your 3.
Yeah.
So as long as the
Yeah.
staffing,
I was
normal
just
staffing
curious.
can occur during the 3 years at their own volition, but it's like if, and you just have to replace.
Right,
They can leave, we just can't choose to let them go.
right. Well, I guess we could still choose to let them go, we just have to fill the spot.
Okay.
Right, so I
You just have to
mean,
maintain the staffing.
right, we gotta maintain that staffing level, period.
Chief, within the next couple of years, how many firefighters do you see retiring?
We have 3 that are currently eligible. And the one, if you ask him, he adds time, so I'm afraid to ask, so I don't ask anymore. But seriously, we have 3 that could walk out the door tomorrow. They could call MERS, say, hey, I'm gonna file my paperwork, I'm gonna retire in 30, 60, 90 days, whatever it is, and they can walk out the door. So. Yes, sir.
A few questions. First of all, what is our current fire rating?
Our current fire rating, I'm glad you asked, thank you. Currently, as it sits, we are a 5-6, and what that means is that we are 5 in the township and 6 in the village. And it was under the direction of the previous chief, the guy sitting back there, that we were able to get it down from a much higher, we had like a 6-9, 9A, something like that. And what that was is that you had a fire department less than 5 miles from every resident, but there was a lot of other things that had to work on. So we worked on those. We got that down, and we're down to a 5-6. I'm happy to let you know that we just recently went through another ISO grading and just got the results back on June 4th as well. That was my birthday, so it was a great day. That we are now a 4 And the lower the number, the better the number.
Now, is that both village and township?
That's both village and township. That would take effect September 31st of this year. I am looking heavily, been in a lot of discussions with some neighboring chiefs, as well as with our ISO rep, possibly maybe even get that number lower to maybe a 3. So we're gonna see how close we are and what we have to do to improve.
And how do we rate compared to Groveland at that time?
Well, okay, so they have a 3. All right, current, they were graded as well. And so that, a couple of things. One, what brings ours down is our school buildings, because not all of them are suppressed. The only building that's fully suppressed is Oakwood Elementary. The middle school is partially suppressed. The high school has a couple of heads here and there. So that is a big thing. Harvey Swanson Elementary, none. Bell Ann, except for the new part had a couple of heads. So a lot of those schools, and they're big buildings. If it was a commercial building, they won't be able to build it. It's too big. They'd have to put some kind of suppression system in it. So that definitely is a detractor. We lost a couple of buildings that was on that detractor list. One was the Pontiac Steel building, and the other was when the school got rid of Sherman Court. But we tore that, that one they tore down. So that's why. So yeah, there are 3. And I'll throw it out there, they have a ladder truck. That gives you some points. I don't know that it's advantageous for us to run right out and buy a ladder truck at this point, so.
Well, on that note then, would we be able to run a ladder truck out of the village?
Well, out of the current station, no. Too small, we wouldn't be able to do that. And that was one of the reasons that the previous boards, working with the fire chief, the previous fire chief, that's why they bought the property on M15, was that, someday, if we needed that, and there was a lot of development talking, there was the S word that was going around, sewers, that there was a lot of discussion on that. So if all that was going to occur, then there was going to be a lot of development. There was one development plan that had 3-story buildings, multi-tenant, multi-floors, multi-building, and we were going to have to do something. We were going to need to house a ladder truck somewhere.
So I was recently over at the fire station here in
Okay.
town, and I was getting a fire permit,
Okay.
which led into a real nice lawn. I guess by Captain Billy Starr, he gave me a really nice tour.
Okay.
And all that, so he did a really great job. Helped me get a better understanding. So I recommend to the rest of the council, if you ever get a chance, to stop in.
Absolutely. Our doors are always open.
I really learned a lot
Good.
during that process. So.
Good.
So on that note, because we're looking to hire more people, and where do we stand with our current firemen and paramedics, and where do we stand with them compared to other communities on how they're paid and all that?
We're not the highest paid and we're not the lowest paid. We're somewhere in that middle. Probably towards the lower part of the middle, if you will. But fair. We have some other benefits that maybe other departments don't have. So I think that's an added plus. So I mean, there's some, when you look at it, you gotta look at the whole picture, right? Otherwise, you could be comparing apples and bananas and oranges, and it just won't work out the same. So I would say fair. They would like to see, we all want to see pay increases, right? And so far, we've been fortunate with those. And it hasn't been a lot, but it's been a little bit, trying to keep up with the cost of inflation as we go.
All right, thank you.
Yep.
So I have a question, I'm not sure if you know the answer to this, but how would one person's homeowner's insurance be affected from going from a 6 to a 4?
Well, so what I've been told is that if we go below, if we get to the 5 and below, it's a pretty significant jump for insurance companies that use the fire protection classification rating. Not all insurance companies use that. Give you an example, State Farm, they don't use it. State Farm looks at the entire picture and says, okay, we've had so many water loss, property damage from water loss, we've had so many thefts, we've had fires, we've had, and they look at everything, cars as well as homes, and they take that and they put that into a process. I don't know, they probably use an actuarial, and come up with a number, and they say, okay, this is what we're going to charge people that live inside Brandon Township, or people that live inside the village of Ortonville. So, to give you an exact dollar amount, I can't do that because it's going to vary on what the person has insured, how much they have insured for, what the insurance company is. Where I think the biggest people that are the people that are going to see the biggest bang for their buck, if you will, the biggest drop, will be the commercial properties. Because obviously they're larger, they're paying probably a higher insurance premium overall. So I think they'll see a savings there, provided again that they use a company that uses the fire protection classification rate. As far as percentage of how many use those, it's about 50% use the fire protection classification rate and 50% don't. They have their own method.
Is this all like networked, throughout all the insurance agencies and that, where we don't have to go and approach them to let them know, and it's automatic and?
Well, I would say that yes and no. I would recommend that you still check with your individual insurance agency and have them check to see if they're using the fire protection classification rating. So that way you can take full advantage of that and make sure you're getting the right discount. And I'm sure Mr. Wills would be able to give you more insight.
It's always advantageous for you to go in and talk and see if there's any further discounts that
Yeah, because I'm probably not gonna call you and say, hey, we got notified.
Yeah, and I would shop around too, because if one says, your insurance agency says, no, that's not gonna change, I'd make some phone calls. Absolutely.
One last question for me.
Yes, sir.
The change from a 6 to a 4, would you say the decision by Brandon Schools to close the Brandon Fletcher Intermediate School greatly affected that rating?
No, because
What
we
was
saw
the
that
what was the reason for going from a 6 to a 4 then?
Well, the reason that we did go from a 6 to a 4 was that we ended up with better grading points on a lot of, and there was a whole laundry list. And I don't know, if you're gonna ask for those, I would have brought, because I could give you 10-point examples.
We got your captive audience.
You know, I get it. But when they come out and they grade, they look at everything now, and they changed to a new grading system about 3 years ago. Prior to that, it was, they really didn't care how much training you did. They didn't care how many fire inspections you did. What they were looking at was how much water could you get for your community. That was number one, still is number one. It's 50% of the entire vote, if you will, or 50% of the entire makeup of your point system. And then they look at how many full-time people do you have. And they give you some credit for pay call, but not as much as they do now. They've come to understand that, hey, a lot of these rural departments rely on pay call, and they got a good pay call system. And when we say fire, we get all kinds of pay call. I mean, there was a joke we were talking about that every time we were going to tone it out, we're going to tone fire and then give them the street address, and once they got on scene, tell them, oh no, it's a medical.
So hopefully the hiring the 3 new ones with that grant is not gonna increase our rating again, right?
No, it will actually, that will actually help.
I thought you said that
It will help
that
us.
employees.
Yeah, it will help us.
And if we sell
Because that
elementary
means
school
that
programs.
More proper than.
Right, well, so here's how having that additional 3 people, so 1 additional person per shift, will help us out, is that we can man station 3. So that means if we get a fire, all 3 of my stations are manned. That means I'm getting an engine, and I'm gonna get at least 2 tankers out the door immediately.
Your response time.
So my response time has, I don't have to wait for somebody to, okay, I got a call, get up, get dressed, head to the fire station, get in, grab the truck, and then head towards the call. So it will absolutely help in our ISO rating. And if we get, should we get the grant, and they notify us before September, that is something else that we will definitely take to ISO and say, hey, listen, so we have additional staff, that station now is manned 24/7, and that'll definitely help us in points.
Yeah, I believe at one time when I moved in here, we were like at a 9 or something like that, or?
Yeah, some of the areas were 9. some were 8. But again, like I said, the previous fire chief, and he's not gonna say much, but it was, he had a lot to do with that. I mean, majorly to do with that, to get that lowered down to where we were at with a 5 and a 6. So if anybody needs for good.
I guess based on that, I'd like to go ahead and make the motion to approve the resolution in support of Brandon Township Fire Department staffing for adequate fire and emergency response grant request for 3 full-time firefighters.
Support. Any other, we have a motion and support on the floor. Motion by Councilman Skornica, supported by Councilman Wills. Any other comments, questions? Hearing none, all those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion's carried. Thank you, Chief.
Thank you. Thank you for your support. It means a lot.
So the only item we have left is personnel committee update, correct?
Public comments.
I know. And this item.
Mhm.
Of course, correct. So go ahead. Who wants to jump in on the personnel committee?
I gave my preliminary, so you guys.
As part of the member of the personnel committee, first of all, I'd like to thank Trustee Skornica for reaching out to other communities to do homework, to find this, what I thought, the committee thought, was a good idea to bring forth to council for approval. It did mimic another city's evaluation form, and the committee went back and revamped that. We worked, sort of say, smarter, not harder. So we did make it fit the village of Ortonville. And through discussions with the committee, we're bringing this particular form as it relates to the village manager to council for approval to adopt for future, for Bill's current evaluation, 90, and then eventually his annual, and then for all future village manager performance ratings.
And then we would adopt the same format type for staff, for the clerk and treasurer going forward, to just tweak some of that, but this is the onset. And like I said earlier, my opening comments would be that the personnel committee will write the formalized procedures and put them in the personnel manual.
So, and then the way this is set to work, every one of the council trustees are able to do the evaluation on Bill. Bill will also get an evaluation of the same to perform an evaluation on his own. All the forms will come back to the personnel committee, and then we'll tabulate them into one master evaluation. And then we'll set a meeting with Bill and the personnel committee to review. Excuse me?
June 20th.
June
June
20th,
18th we
yeah.
meet, or
Thank you.
19th we meet, and then June 20th.
And we do have the one comment that will change, that the first sentence, we're going to just add 90 days and the annual review.
I think it should just say review, it shouldn't say how often.
Well,
We
we
could
could
choose to
change-
do a 6-month or a
That's
90,
true.
or,
I mean,
I think
yeah.
just don't put a time limit on it.
We'll just remove it.
Yeah, it could be on it.
We'll just have it on the form of what it is, so that we can have it identified. So we'll just make the modification of striking annual.
So at this point, we're just seeking council's approval to adopt this format for evaluation. And
And if there's anything else that you guys see that you would like to add or modify, delete,
Are you gonna put forth the resolution tonight then for approval?
we would
Yes.
like, so that we can begin the process.
Okay, because I just didn't see one here, but that doesn't mean we can't have
So
it.
so if we do see some issues even currently, how's that going to affect Mr. Sprague's evaluation?
If there's anything you notice in the way of typos or anything, we can fix that at any point. It's-
we believe the content in each of the evaluations are merited for any village manager. So anything that might be in there, certainly we can always adjust one way or another as the years go on. But being that we are running out of time now, we're already past the 90 days, as mentioned earlier, we're recommending we move forward. And certainly if there are additional either typos and or improvements, as we said, we can change those moving forward.
And the template was taken from MML, and then we reached out to the city in which it was taken and asked for any input, and she
Right
gave
city
additional
was that?
input.
Yeah.
Durand, I was gonna say Davisburg, from Durand, and she was really nice and helpful. She sent me the template, and I messed with it.
Right, so
We tweaked it,
yeah,
tweaked
I
it.
obtained several ideas from the MML, and based on Durand's, it was the best fit that we saw, and then we did add some things under each of the categories. And I know for myself, I went with the job description and what we already had established for the village manager. If it wasn't in there, I added it for us, so.
It's kind of ironic, I was born in Durand, so.
I have Durand roots as well. I wasn't born there, but.
So I guess we're looking for approval, adopt this moving forward, and again, I don't know how you want to throw that out to council for approval.
I could, I like what I see thus far. I'll move that we approve the newly presented manager performance evaluation form.
So moved.
As provided by, personnel. So I'm making a motion. Okay, and you're gonna support it?
Yep.
So a motion by Councilman Will, supported by Councilman Warren. Thank you on behalf of the rest of the council. Appreciate your work. Any other discussions, commentary?
Just a friendly reminder to trustees to.
We got a vote going, sir.
Oh,
Yeah.
Okay. So on this issue, any comments, questions? Hearing none, all those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion's carried. Okay, now.
So now the friendly reminder to the trustees, just to please, submit your feedback to Tanya, Dan, and myself, so that we can table it, and we would request that you complete it by Friday, this coming Friday, whatever that date is. I had it.
The 15th.
The 15th.
June
That would be
15th.
greatly appreciated.
What's the appropriate way to get it back to you guys? Can we scan it, email it, or
You can
or
scan
what?
an email, or just, you could.
Sealed envelope.
Yeah, or you could seal it in an envelope, turn it into the office, and one of us can stop in and pick it up. Just send an email that you've done it, or
And
you
how-
just drop it off and let us
how would-
know.
oh, okay.
She can let us know.
All right, but how would we address that then, on the envelope?
Personnel committee.
Okay.
Thank you.
That would be great.
All those in favor of, do we vote?
Yeah, we already did.
Okay. And myself, or I myself. Okay, item 10, we're back to public comments again. We do have one member of the public. I mean, we have two? Oh.
Thanks, Dr. Chief.
Yes, sir.
You had a discussion earlier, and I didn't want to interrupt what was going on as far as with the DDA and the health inspection of the food trucks. That's part of mine. When I go through and do the fire inspection, I'll also ask them for their health and safety.
Yeah, we're good. Thank you.
Other comments? Hearing none, we'll move on then to item 11, additional items from trustees. Anyone?
I'd just like to add one thing. I was out for a walk the other day, and a couple that usually show up here to our meetings, they brought it to my attention that they really see a lot of people speeding through the community. And I've noticed that myself, and I've talked to some of the other walkers as well, and it's really gotten out of hand. And some of the suggestions that were mentioned was that maybe if we added additional stop signs to slow the traffic down like some other communities have, because it has been real bad. And I'm not sure what else we can do to slow it down. I've seen people doing 40, 50 miles an hour through here, like it's a dragway.
I see that people coming down from Hummer Lake Road down Mill Street. Oh. Downhill. Incredible. I even see it running the stop sign.
Mm-hmm. I see that.
Not often, once in a while.
I think not
More
too
than a
long,
roll by.
not too long ago, a resident commented about possibly bringing in one of those radar digital signs on wheels, and just to, I mean, it's a good awareness. Hey, here's how fast you're going, you know.
So the response to that, if I recall, there's not room on the side of the roads for that to be erected and then.
Well, we've had it in a couple different
We've had it
places.
before.
Oh,
Right, and we added the strictly enforced under 25 miles an hour. I mean, we progressively have done things, this has been an ongoing problem,
Yeah,
but the calming devices, the things that we're discussing in the master plan hopefully will help too.
I've even gone so far as to, when I hear a car coming down and not decelerating, I can tell. And if I'm out and about, I'll go out there and one time I even stood the road.
You might want
Gotta consider it. Well, I was wrong. I was
You might want to have
prepared
your
to
cell
move the
phone
last
in
minute.
hand with, that 911 that I just said.
Can we give sheriff's department a
Oh,
heads up
absolutely.
to start cracking down?
And they will, they'll do it. And they'll spend some extra time on occasion.
That's just an ongoing situation though. I mean, I don't know, other than, I like the suggestion that they made as far as, like, and I've seen this in other communities, add additional stop signs. There's a lot of times people come down Oakwood Road to make the shortcut on Church to bypass, the turn, left turn and everything on Oakwood, and they zoom right on through, I see it a lot.
One particular spot that would be good would be right where Church Street by the post office, because you have limited visibility right there. If you're pulling out of the post office parking lot,
Turn right.
I mean,
Or left.
or the people are turning left, and they would.
Well, they shortcut that all the time.
And they're coming across there really quite fast.
I have one, I was just wondering with this status of the Ortonville Wildlife Preservation Park, the signs, what the status of those are.
Yeah, the last time we had talked about having a contest and putting something together, and, to be quite frank, we've been focused on budget with me out of the office that 1 week.
Okay.
Well, have we received the survey back?
Yeah, it's good.
Like, we haven't seen the survey yet,
It's done, I haven't seen the paperwork yet.
so I think we need to do that.
Well, that's-
Get to the.
He's done staking, and he was supposed to drop the paperwork off last week at the office, and again, I'm gonna pay him about the same amount of time
As I say, we get what we
that
put
it
for.
took,
My,
you
my comment exactly, we get your paperwork.
So the staking, are these permanent stakes that they're putting in place, or?
Irons, or they're called irons at the pivotal points? Or are they
He was
wood
supposed to
stakes?
put metal stakes in at the pivotal points, and then we added some temporary stakes
Along the way.
along the way so that people could see. And I may need to send Bob up there because
Yeah, I could run with
I'm
Bob.
probably not gonna make it up into I wanted to walk it prior to this, so.
You can see how accessible it is.
We'll come get
Okay,
you.
well, I was just, even though I know about the survey,
Training.
it's just the signs, having, moving forward with the signs wouldn't prohibit, because, to get something erected, but, I did throw out the idea before about, possibly, high school or have a contest of some sort. Now that school is near out, I don't know if that's gonna happen, else we wanna wait until school resumes, but it's just something to think about.
I don't think we have to wait that long unless, if we want
Unless
to
you
do
put something in
the.
the paper, and it's a high school student or something like that,
Yeah.
but.
Do we have any further, I'm sorry, were you finished?
I am.
Okay, do we have any further updates as far as the dumpsters and all that?
Sure, we've had 2 more permits here in the last couple days, or this week even. One of them, Jets, really nice.
Sorry.
Really,
And don't follow.
really nice drawing, really nice, really probably of everybody that's turned in a dumpster plan, for lack of a better term, for my review, probably the most professional. The guy's kid, was it his son, is studying drafting and that, so this was an opportunity for him to, it's got all the bushes and everything, and it looks really professional, so he turned it in today, we turned it around today. He's
What
got
about
his-
ours?
Ours is, they were
Oh, are we
finishing up the
done?
gates
Oh, I
today. So they had to pour some asphalt in front where there was a break between the pad and the driveway, so they were doing that today. And I didn't look to the right when I wheeled out of there today, but they were darn near finished,
Good.
putting the gates together. The wall's been up for quite some time. And then the other one at the DPW garage was taken care of right away. That's been taken care of, so.
Bill, do we have many that have not responded at all to the letter?
Yeah, we've got quite a few, and we're gonna follow up. We're gonna start following up with those folks. There's a few that I owe them responses, but, you know, that it's, unfortunately, it's harder from the car, and we've been doing it from the car. There's several people. Probably the biggest issue we've got going right now, and if I could feedback what I've got, the biggest complaint that we've received from the people on the dumpster ordinance isn't so much putting up the sides and the back and all that, it's the gates. They're just afraid that they're gonna spend a lot of money on gates and they're gonna get trashed. And my response so far has been, you know, you need to hold your trash hauler accountable. I would not be surprised if we got some feedback from some of the residents to ask us to take a look at the ordinance. And that would be obviously your call at the time, you know, if they did, but I don't see a problem with it right now.
Could we look into that process, and maybe we have already a process in place that I'm not aware of, but so that you're not doing individual letters to the members, can we create a form letter, you know, automate that process, so it's like if somebody's in violation, it's already spelled out, you can do a checkbox, and all I gotta do is go in there, maybe like a mail merge document, or something, you can just type in the address and it'll spit out that letter.
We probably could, and Liz is smiling down there. 'Cause
Yeah, 'cause I mean,
she's been trying
be
to
automated.
sell me on what's the proper term, building enforcement or building enforcement software.
Code enforcement software.
So you can just check them off and they're
So
done.
you go in there,
Spits it out and print out.
It's kind of expensive in my mind, but.
Yeah, I think you can simplify it without getting into, and I don't know what the expense of that is, I think you can do it in-house and make it and still be very effective.
I mean, we did that with the dumpster letter. That was generic. Liz knows how to do a mail merge, so it looked like an individually addressed letter to everybody. But it was, you know, it was the same message to everybody. And we are driving towards, you know, there's some common things, you know, like grass, you know, noxious weed ordinance stuff, you know, those things you could have kind of off the shelf and just boom, you're sending the same thing.
Exactly.
That was my final question as far as
Check
that,
it out.
because I know, like on Narren Street, we have a particular house, I tell you, it's almost my chest high.
Letters
You know what I mean?
been
It's like,
sent, letters been sent. to
how long
Mary.
do we let it go before we initially start our first letter in there?
I'm trying to remember that one right offhand, but,
It's in the ordinance, right? It says it's
Probably
60
80
now.
now.
8 inches.
oh,
It's
it
8 inches.
is 60 Narren, but
Anything over 8 inches?
Correct.
it's over 8 inches, but it's how many days did we give
We
them
gave
to
them
respond?
7 days.
7 days to
And then
respond.
DPW goes and mails it, or mows it, and then we mail them a bill.
Correct.
So we're already after that.
Yes.
Okay.
Yep, we're after that one, 164 Ball Street, backyard. There's a few other ones that, you know, I've probably issued. One I'll talk to you about, that you called me about after the meeting,
Okay.
if you don't mind.
No, that's fine.
And, yeah, we've issued quite a few letters on cars and that, now it's a matter of following up, you know, and it's amazing to me, some of these are the same UBAC and they're just repeat offenders.
Yeah.
I had one quick comment, I don't need a response, so you can make it at the next meeting. But the status on the process of the Sherman Court, the DNR passport grant. I know they were out there this week inspecting, so you can give us a report then, or what the follow-up will be, what the timeline will be, how long before we'll hear us. I don't need an answer right now, thank you.
Okay.
Anyone else, what else?
And make a motion to adjourn.
Support. All those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Yeah, I'd just like, before we break up, I'd really like to thank Beth for the hard work she put in on the budget.
Yeah.
She did a great job. I'm not
Thank you,
always,
Beth.
I'm not always the easiest to understand when I change things on her. So.
Thank you very much, Beth. Appreciate it very much.
You're welcome.